What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Your Fifth Friend podcast, where we are believers that you are the combination of the 5 people that you spend the most time with, and we are here to be your fifth friend and provide you with the knowledge and entertainment to go and live a better and hopefully more enjoyable life.
Yeah, and guys, before we get started, we've been putting a lot of work into these podcasts. Give us a share. Let the people know who we are. We want to be able to get in front of more people. Like, subscribe, do all the above. Let's get in front of more people. Let's get us to our first 100 followers, and let's take this to the moon together. So, guys, today I have a couple of topics that I want to be able to run through. I want to talk a little bit about what's happening with Twitter and, what's happening all there with the Elon gate versus what, just came out with Threads, which is a meta product that came out by Zuck. Very similar, obviously, in nature. I want to hear everyone's thoughts on it. And then we have a few other topics that we're going to go into a little bit later about kind of inflation in the U.S. and what's happening around there. How does that affect the everyday person? What should people be thinking about? And then we'll talk towards the end about our goals and plans for your fifth friend and what we're looking to do to get in front of more people as well. So with that said, let's dive into it. Twitter versus Threads, what are some of the things that you guys have been able to kind of observe over the last couple of weeks when it comes to Elon, when it comes to Zuck, and when it comes to these, new products coming out in the marketplace?
Do you find it to be a coincidence that like a week after they got into a tiff and decided like we're going to be in a cage fight together, that Threads got launched? Or Threads got launched?
I think it came out ahead of schedule for sure. And based on what's happening here, the timing of it, it seems pretty interesting that it happened like just this close in notice.
I haven't used it personally. I don't even really use Instagram anymore. Like I don't have it on my phone. I just try to log into it once a week and see what type of like memes my friends have sent me. But here's what I can tell you. Before Instagram had videos, there was Snapchat. Then then Zuck came in, added that to Instagram, changed the game. What's the other one? TikTok came along. They started doing the short form. It went crazy. Doing the same exact thing on Instagram. It's a hit. Sure. Now he just did it with Twitter. What I've seen over the years is that whatever Zuck copies tends to be really well liked by everybody else and seems to be really well used and keeps on solidifying that Instagram is the app. But I just have this feeling that there's way too many diehard Twitter goons for it to really pick up the traction that the others had. But I don't know. I have no idea. What do you guys think?
I mean, I don't know. I'm not on Twitter, but I am on Threads. I have 1 follower, I think, on there. So give me a follow. That's one more than I have on Twitter, which is big news.
It's infinitely better.
Yeah, it's unlimitedly better. I just think what they did was slick when it came down to like how they like growth hacked their first users. I think in the first like 24, 40 hours, like 10 million users or something outrageous like that.
It's out to 100 million now.
That's outrageous.
How fucking wild is that?
So what they did was like, right when they launched it, they made it so slick for you to create your profile on there. When someone else that's like your friend goes and creates a profile on there, it sends you like a push notification. If someone like, there's like once you create an account, there's like a request all of your Instagram friends button that you can press. And it's like, boom, like network grown, network expanded. Like you went from 0 to 100. They just made it so easy to convert, and you weren't growing from scratch like you are on other platforms,
which
makes it exciting for people to walk into. So like, let's say that you are the Instagram influencer, you have 1 million people following you, hit one button, and that now, like, let's say 30% audience just transitions onto this new platform. So now they have these eyes on a new medium, creates a massive win. On top of that, on an advertising level, since we talk about e-commerce, like, dude, they just opened up a ton of new ad real estate. If you think about it, right?
I think that's
of all
what
the
they
display.
did it for. Yeah.
So Facebook and Instagram has been out of real estate, like for like their news feed. Every 4 posts is an ad on there, and they're sold out of inventory. So now it's a competitive bidding platform. You're bidding up on CPM. This just launched new real estate, if you think about it, for Facebook. I didn't take a look at what their stock ticker says, but I can imagine it's gone up, just like, or at least it should be. There's just new ability for us to be able to advertise, new placements there. Twitter has no targeting engine built into it whatsoever. Threads is built by Meta, who has the strongest one. I think that's a massive win. Like, I think they're gonna crush it. I think they're gonna do the old Snapchat 1000, just break Twitter's neck, and then Elon and Zuck are going to wrestle it out in a jiu-jitsu cage match, and we'll see where it goes.
Think about this, though, for a second. People like Twitter now more than ever because you have no censorship. You could say whatever the fuck you want, whenever
Certain
the fuck
people
you want.
like it more than ever.
Yes.
Certain people.
But for the most part, it's a much more liberating platform to be on because you could really say whatever you want. And what I tend to find is Twitter's a little bit of an older crowd. Like if TikTok and Snapchat and Instagram are used by a younger gen, you could think of like grown adults using Twitter, and then you could think of like Facebook as like really old generation, like 55 plus. Anywho, what I'm getting at is a lot of people that are on Twitter are not necessarily on Instagram, but everybody that's on Instagram will likely be on Threads. It's two different demographics. But do you guys see people from Twitter merging over and actually staying there? Or do you think this is like exciting like Clubhouse was for a month and then it dies off?
I think this is going to be huge. I think this is going to immediately take Twitter's lunch money away. I think that like just like it did on Snapchat, where people would just like, it would be dumb if you have a huge following to not just post on both platforms. Copy and paste the same message from one, move it over to the other, and grow it. But guess what? When that following grows more, just because you have way more users and it made it real slick to get those users to now follow you on here, it's going to be a no-brainer that channel grows. And as more people start adopting and creating exclusive content specifically on Threads, Twitter's just going to be a thing of the past.
So you think the game is instant gratification to get people lured in? And I'm sure that he's bumping everybody's post probably more than the impressions that it's actually getting to get them to stick. And then that's what will retain them, and then things keep going and it keeps building from there.
I mean, I think there's a lot of, it's very advantageous for them to like open up and make this platform as ideal as humanly possible for the audience that they want. They're going to be very strategic with this, right? They're probably not going to put ad inventory on first. Let's make it ad free for starters. Let's not turn people off of the platform for the first 3-6 months. Let's go and they have a degree of adoption they probably want. From there, they're going to make it maybe a chronological timeline so people get really excited about it and like enjoy that element. And as they continue to adopt more and more users from Twitter, like they did on Snapchat, then they'll start ramping up. All right, let's open up ad inventory. Let's open up some of these other things. But I think that like the fact that you can just grow this new social outlet based off of following on another platform makes it an extremely large advantage to go from this image-based platform to a written-based platform. I think the whole vertical of written is going to explode. Like I don't know how many active users Twitter actually gets, but it's like nowhere near the size of Instagram.
Well, now he has it all if you think about it. He started with Facebook, which is a social media platform that was like MySpace, crushed MySpace, broke its neck, on to the next. Then it went from photos to videos and stories, then TikToks, now this written form. He has the biggest monopoly on social media ever. And if you think about it, Zuck may be the greatest copycat, or if you want to put it in better terms, buccaneer of all time. He wasn't the first at bat. He was always second or third, but he absolutely crushed everybody in its way. I don't think people realize, like, he looks like a alien and he doesn't really say much. He looks quite unassuming, but the guy's a fucking shark and he's out for everybody's necks.
Let me ask you guys this question. Why do you think Zuck made the move now? Because Twitter's been around forever and he could have had every opportunity to create a Twitter, copycat years ago. Why now? Why is it just because the Elon hype, and is it because of, what Elon, did with Twitter recently with kind of, some of the updates with, the Twitter Blue, I think it's called, where you have to pay for your membership.
First thing he copied him on.
Didn't Instagram, yeah, they copied that pretty quickly thereafter. So that's one thing. And then also the rate limits on the number of tweets you can see on a daily basis if on a free account. Does that actually restrict some of the, more power users of the product that don't want to pay for the premium version of Twitter? And that's might be a reason why they go and switch to Threads. So those couple of things to think about in terms of what's happening within the platform in Twitter right now and how that could be a detriment. I think before I get your point, another thing that, my thoughts, how does Elon respond? What does Elon do in this situation?
He hasn't said anything yet.
No. Like, what does he actually do from a business standpoint to respond? Not like a verbal response. Like, how does Twitter make their next move? And I'm curious on each of your thoughts there.
I don't think Elon gives a fuck, to be honest with you. I think he bought Twitter because he likes using it, and he was like, I need this. And I bet there was some type of underwritten thing that needed to happen that nobody knew about. But I will say this. The reason that Zuck is probably doing this now is because his feathers were ruffled. But more than that, he's doing whatever he can to try to make the universe forget that he had a $12 billion L with Meta. He literally changed his company name. He went all in on the metaverse, shit the bed. And I think he's doing whatever he can in a moment of a rocky boat to make things stable again.
I think all of these businesses have the fiduciary responsibility as publicly traded companies to grow. Like, they're answering to shareholders, right? So the next rational thing for Meta is to open up more ad inventory space, right? They have this ad algorithm that succeeds out the ass. Now they need to go in and get more inventory available. Facebook sold out, Instagram sold out. They're going on placing all over the internet through these whatever placements that they have there. This is just another excellent placement where they can go and create eyeballs. I think that I thought that Twitter was like gaining traction over the last like couple of years. Like last year, I felt that was the case. I'm looking at Google Trends right now. It's really not. Like, it's been about the same since like it's gotten less than it was in 2016 at this point, and it's pretty much at like its all-time low since 2016.
No shit.
Yeah, like, take a look at this.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
you see some peaking, but yeah, it's pretty stable.
It's nothing there, but I think that, like, you know, the media is talking more about it. It is becoming a more, like, maybe the user search isn't there, but I think that, like you said, like the high value user search is going up there. It's becoming like a place of value, and I think that with how slick he made this happen, I think that he's going to growth hack this to be massive and probably grow faster than, like, I don't know, than like just increased product adoption more than like anything has ever been increased. You said 100 million fucking users. Like, that's insane. In a week. That's absolutely insane.
Now, that doesn't necessarily mean like brand new, unique, but just taking people from his original platform and moving it over is unreal.
I mean, that's even faster than ChatGPT's growth.
That's 1/3 of all of America on an app in a week.
But let's
imagine the volume of people.
They made user creation easy, but what they did not necessarily solve for yet is like, all right, I've created an account on Threads. I posted 0 things. I've never actually like logged. There was a button for me to like create an account. It was instant. So it was really slick to do that. But now I need to actually adopt the platform, meaning I need to like use it, go on there, post something, like be a part of the mix. And I haven't done that. And now that's the next level to solve. And I'm assuming a lot of people are probably in that where it's like, all right, cool. Like that, like, what is this? Let's garner their interest. But now it's like, you need people to actually truly adopt it. And I think people spend so much time on social media that like, it probably will get adopted. But I think that like that's the next challenge for Facebook. But on an ad inventory level, this is going to be huge for them. Like, there was no massive spike to their stock ticker. They're growing sustainably. The year to date up 135% for the year.
I'm so butthurt I didn't buy a single share at $90. Now it's at what, like $2.95?
I bought a bunch of Facebook. $2.94, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, dude, I shit the bed.
So I think it's massive, and I think that like it will probably only climb at this point.
I just don't see any other platforms like being as interesting. I personally don't like Instagram. No. I'm saying the whole portfolio of what Instagram is. You have WhatsApp, you have Instagram, you basically have a Snapchat in there, you basically have a TikTok in there, you basically have a Twitter in there. It's like, I just don't see how somebody could come in and do anything to ruffle that feather at all.
You just need, I mean, if you have the backing of the Chinese government with TikTok, you can make things happen. So, like, if you have enough money, you can make it happen. If you're willing to spend enough money, you can make things happen.
Yeah, if anybody cares enough to do that, but imagine the risk that you're going up and the genius level of Zuck and his talent team to do it. I think what he's done, which is really effective now that I'm thinking about this, is whoever is the person or the people are working for him. Even if you want to develop another world-class app, imagine how hard it is to find that talent. ChatGPT is the same way. Like, they're going to be the industry leaders of whatever's going on in AI, especially for their use case. If you look at how much they're offering for salaries and what type of credentials they have, it's like, dude, $300 base, $600,000 a year in bonuses. And this is for like a pretty entry-level position within reason in the company. It's like, nobody's going to go anywhere else. So he has the talent, he has all the data, and he has all the knowledge and know-how to continue spreading this thing. So it'll be interesting what happens and seeing what comes out of it. Maybe they just fight to the death in the ring, and whoever wins gets to take the other person's platform.
Let's talk about that side of thing, right? Who wins? Who wins in the fight? Who wins in the showdown is the real question.
Between Zuck and Elon?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I'm a diehard Zuck cuck, or not Zuck cuck, Elon lover, and I think that Zuck is a cuck. But Mark's gonna kick his ass.
On what? Like just knockout sparring or like choked out armbar?
He would absolutely get choked out within, I think, a minute. Don't look at Mark and think like he's a small guy. Have you guys ever trained before in MMA in any capacity? Like
No.
any type of boxing, MMA, jiu-jitsu?
Just in the warehouse.
Warehouse training.
It's me or this fucking boxing bag. Anywho, if you've ever trained with someone, even if they're smaller than you, like let's say they have like 30, 40 pounds on you, you could still beat them in jiu-jitsu. If you take someone to the ground, you're going to know how to manage their hands, their wrists, their arms, their elbows, their knees, their ankles, whatever. It's only a matter of time before the adrenaline kicks in for Elon, regardless of how big or strong he may be. Zuck's going to find him, Zuck's going to grab him, Zuck's going to choke him, and it's going to be over.
But you got to factor one thing into this fight that you guys haven't factored in yet.
What?
Neurolink.
Dude, he's not even...
He's Morpheus?
Is he plugged in yet? Does anyone know?
I think if he plugs in, this guy, imagine him being able to plug in all of the best MMA skills.
You think he's...
And
you
this
really
guy
think
just-
the thing? Like he's going to just go in and fucking sit in a Morpheus chair, just get this like...
Elon Miyagi.
Elon
Imagine that. Neurolinked Elon absolutely will beat him. Real life, straight up, no question, Zuck is going to win that fight. So, fun little topic we talked about there.
Do you guys think they're on any type of performance enhancer, by the way?
I bet they're on some weird shit. Like, I bet they...
Yeah.
Like
drink, like,
nootropic,
goat
like
piss.
biohacking
But
vibes.
like some just dark,
Microdosing.
organic goat piss. Like, just there's something in there. Like, some unheard of shit.
Dude, did you see how fast Zuck did the Murphy?
The Murph, yeah.
Have you done it before?
Yeah.
Dude, I did it
Without
once.
a 20-pound weighted vest.
I did one without a weight. I did it, I think I was a sophomore in high school, 49 minutes. And this was like the peak of my athleticism. Like I was in fucking shape. This guy broke a sub 30.
And he
No,
probably
I don't think he
trains
did
pretty
that.
consistently.
Impressive guy. Nevertheless, I'm interested to see what happens with Threads. I'm not going to hop on it personally. I don't really like being on Instagram. I am
Dude,
absolutely...
you were going to be on there in 3 weeks.
No, not at all. Not even a chance. Dude, I'm such a doom scroller. I have to stay away from it. If I have it, I'm fucked.
Just delete Twitter.
No, not Twitter.
Just delete Twitter and just get on there.
I like Twitter more.
But you haven't even tried it.
He has a lot of goons on Twitter that he
Dude, my
enjoys talking
goon
to.
squad's on Twitter. Don't disrespect Twitter like that, man. Come on.
Cool. So
Anywho.
let's switch topics here. Let's talk a little bit about kind of inflation. You had a story that you want to talk about with, some of your travel plans. Not travel plans. Your moving plans. Looking for a new place to live, and this kind of had you go a little bit deeper in the rabbit hole about inflation and what the market's looking like. And I want to hear your perspective. What are you seeing?
Dude, we live in Orange County, and I'm trying to get a house in a city called Irvine, for any of those that don't know. It's a really nice, clean, quiet neighborhood. It's one of the safest cities in the country. There's great schools, a lot of great families, a great place for you to raise your child. Here's what's been going on. Every house that we put a bid in, we have to go over ask. Like, we heard about this going on to buy a house. Now this is happening for leases and rentals too. So we go in, let's say a house is $6,500. We have to put in a bid at $6,800. Then we give them all of our documentation, our application, our proof of funds, whatever. Like, the money's there, it's all good. That's not the objective question. We get beat out by a Chinese family every single time. And what they're doing is really fascinating. Families from China will come here. They will buy the houses in cash over ask for X, because they want to park their money. For X amount of time, they'll just leave their house unoccupied. And when they decide to lease, they will get a Chinese realtor that can barely speak any other language than Mandarin and Cantonese, and they only want to cater to getting other Asian families in there. It's a sense of pride. So if they look at people that are really well qualified, even if they have the highest bid, they're just not going to take it. They'll wait for a Chinese family to come in. They'll go a little bit over ask, but what they'll do is they'll pay 4, 5, 6, even up to a full year up front, and they're absolutely decimating the competition. This has now happened to us in a span of 2 weeks 4 times, where we put in a bid way over ask. We thought we had this house, by the way. It was $6,300. It was a beautiful spot.
What did you have to put in, though? Did you have to go in like over like 1 month of asking, or are you putting multiple months up front of payment? Like, what are you doing?
Here was our offer. We came in at $6,700, so $400 over ask. It was just me and my roommate as a tenant. His name is Mikkel. And the lady, literally, the realtor, texts our realtor back and goes, "Oh my God, this is such a strong offer. You're blowing everybody out of the water." We're like, "Oh, this is great." So she was like, "Hey, like, I find it a little peculiar that there's 2 guys that want to move into a 4-bedroom house, even though they're very well qualified and they're going to spend the most money." He goes, "Yeah, they like the space. They're businessmen. They want rooms for offices." This morning, she hits us back up and says, "Yeah, we decided going with another family." Bid was lower, but guess what the family was? Chinese.
Sure.
So it just becomes this thing where it's like inventory is low to buy homes, right? That's step 1.
Yep.
Step 2 is because people come in and buy things in cash and they pay considerably, handsomely over asking, it's inflated all of the prices of homes. Now when you look at it as well, interest rates have not dipped. Interest rates are also at an all-time high, at least of the recent years. So you're looking at the highest prices that you can find. You're looking at the highest interest rate that you can find. And you're looking at people that are going to come in, outbid you with cash, 7-day escrow that you could do nothing with. It's like the opposite of redlining, but it's completely crushed the market. And now you look at yourself and say, what the fuck are the implications of this for everything else? There's 2 parties. Party one is a group of people that have already lived in that home. Let's say they bought it 4, 5, 6 years ago. They're really happy with the circumstance because they're in a low interest mortgage, and the house that they bought for, let's say 1.5 has doubled or more in value. So they're loving it. But the other side is people can't buy homes. It's way too expensive. The interest rate is going to kill them. They don't have the money for a down payment or the approvals that the banks are going to let you in on, even if you do want the house and you're willing to do it. And now the people that want to go rent are going to experience severe competition and spikes in price. I thought that leases were going to go down in the next year, but I would be hard-pressed to see if it doesn't go up across the board, both rentals for apartments and rentals from a homeowner, by like 20, 30%. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah, I mean, with the interest rates as high as they are right now, you're right. Like, people, why would you sell the home? You know what I mean? Why would you, unless you absolutely need to, you know what I mean? Unless unemployment continues to like rise and rise and rise, like, you're not going to see this spike of people that are looking to sell their home. Because if you're locked in at, again, your use case, $1.5 million home, 2.9% interest rate, your mortgage is like $8K.
Less.
$7K.
Like 6.5. Yeah.
Your mortgage right now at an 8% rate is like
22.
No, not that insane, dude.
Yeah, it is.
No way.
Not for $1.5 million house, but I did the math.
That's what I'm saying. For like the same, I'm saying for the same house. For what was 7.5 is probably close to like 15, 16 right now.
Yeah.
So that's still crazy.
It's absolutely insane.
Dude, it's 3x, 2.5, 3x.
Yeah.
Who's gonna do it?
Well, it's not like it's our fault for having it be so affordable before based off the interest rates. Like, these interest rates are nothing unbelievable. These interest rates are like, probably, if you look at the last 30 years, what the average was, it's probably pretty close to where we are today. At this point, as of right now, like, we've just had the lowest in like U.S. history ever just a couple of months ago, or like a couple of years ago, and that's what fucked everyone. But you're right, people are hoarding all of these properties. You can't get into them. Like, you're just pretty much screwed unless you look at other areas. And when it comes to like being bid out, like, you're totally right. Like they're gonna pick and choose who they want to go in their house, and like I think that's their right to do so. I wouldn't want any shitheads. Not saying you're a shithead or your friend's a shithead, but like it's a risk if you have a home that you spent $4 million on. Like you're not gonna want just some random shitheads moving in there and just destroying your house. I'm sure they've had bad things happen from previous tenants, which could like make them be even more particular on who they have coming in.
Let me ask this question too in your use case. Did you have a chance to get in contact with the seller's agent and have a conversation with them about who you guys are? Or was this all through your buyer's agent?
Everything needs to go agent.
Yeah, but they won't let you. Like I requested it. I like to talk to them. I like to see what's going on. Make a good impression. I think it's really
important. Or even
important.
a video. Maybe what you can do is like have a video that you share with the buyer's agent. Say, hey, this would be like, we're having issues right now. We're great tenants. We want to be able to live in an awesome place. Here's a video about us so that, you can share this with the seller's agent so that they can make an informed decision.
I agree with your sentiment, but I promise you, if we ever sent a video like that, we would get denied immediately. Like they don't want to look at it. They don't want to talk to you. They don't want to know you exist.
Wife beater.
They want to judge you by, exactly. How could you not love this? They want to judge you by how much money you make, if you have a family, and what your ethnicity is. That's just the fact of the matter.
That is discrimination.
Well, they can. And the reason that's
moving into their house.
It's their house they own. They get to choose who the fuck comes in. What's interesting with apartments is that there's a fair housing agreement. I don't know if it's federal, but I know certainly for California, they don't discriminate around who comes in. So long as you are income verified, you could get in. They don't give a fuck about anything that goes on. They don't discriminate. And I want to be very delicate here. I don't want to use the word discrimination or think of it as like a racist act. I think it's a group of people that have a preference and they want to keep it to their preference. I'll give you a perfect example. Like my dad loves going to Persian. I'm Persian. Loves going to Persians for anything. It could be a dentist. It could be a doctor. It could be a tax guy. Like it's just his preference. If there was one guy that was just a perfectly happy white surgeon versus a perfectly happy Persian guy, but the white guy is 15, 20% more qualified, my dad would still go the Persian route, not because the other guy's not incredible, just feels more comfortable. And I think that's one of the things. What I do find to be a little suspicious is like any neighborhood that you go into, especially like what I'm looking at, everybody is Chinese. Like I've gone and seen probably 12 to 15 houses, 5, 6 different neighborhoods, hand on Bible, haven't seen a single person that's not Chinese or walked into a single home that wasn't owned by somebody that was Chinese. And how can I confirm this? It's all public record. It's just insanity. So it's like really, it's redlining, but you're not really pushing people out. You're displacing yourself in and you're keeping it there.
That's the renting side of things. The buying side is relatively identical at this point right now as well too, where it's like appreciation in the Orange County area has just gone up like absolutely crazy. And then from there on top of the appreciation, interest rates have not gone down. It's costing you 3 times as much to get a home. When we met up with your buddy Kai, who's a realtor in this area, great dude. And I was talking to him. I was like, what happens if you go and like, if I just strike a deal, like you're selling a home, let's say you're selling a home for just arbitrary numbers, $1 million. Let's say that's the market value of your property. From there, if I was to be like, yo, Saman, I will pay you 5% above asking, $50,000 more.
They'll laugh at you.
But $100,000, whatever it would be. But what I want to do is I want you to exchange your loan. I want you to transfer your loan to me, meaning you're a 2.9% loan. You don't need that loan. You're going to pay it off afterwards regardless. Give me your 2.9% loan. I will pay 10% over whatever the highest bid is. Let's call it that, not asking. I will make you a sexy offer because no matter what, if I do that, it's going to cost me more out of pocket, but my payment is going to be significantly less because
you'll save like $2 million.
I'll save a massive amount of cash.
Are you seeing a lot of people do that from a perspective, not of an investment perspective. In investments, real estate investing that exists, but like from a homeowner perspective, just wanting to live in that, primary residence, are you seeing people start to do that?
So I had this conversation with him about it. And he was like, yes, like it is happening, but it's like there are other cash buyers, like you mentioned, which is like you're just adding another level of like complexity to the situation. There's a lot of bidders at these homes right now for the ones that are like priced well. They don't necessarily feel the need to do so. But if you can go in and be like, yo, I'm going to spike my offer by 10% to you over here, realtor gets excited because they're butthurt because they're going to have to do this conversation and they're all pissed off at each other. But at the same time, it's like, yo, your commission rate's going to go up by 10% because of me doing this. So like, just make this happen. I think that's the smart hack to get this across the finish line there. And I don't know what they're like. I'm assuming there's some mortgage loan officer stuff that needs to happen to transfer all those things over. But realistically, I think that's the hack of the century to make it easier to get into a home.
Think about this, and I have no idea how this works. Maybe you could shed some light on it.
It's called subject to.
I've heard of this idea. I like this idea, but let's take this scenario. Let's say it's $1 million home. They had the 2.9, and now the house is $2 million. Let's say they owe $700 on that mortgage. Is it that $700,000 mortgage is what you assume at 2.9, and the remainder comes in at a normal interest rate?
Yeah.
So you're blending. It's like an average.
It depends how much is owned, but not in your use case, you're exactly right. You're getting their loan. You're giving them the rest of it in either cash or taking a portion in cash and then also like getting a loan against it.
So your blended is probably what, like 5?
Depends on how much they paid off in the home. What if they just bought the home?
That's interesting.
What if they just bought the home 2 years ago? You know what I mean? They bought in at the 2.9 mark. They bought it, got a great rate 2 years ago. From there, they paid next to nothing on their home, and now they're still financing a shitload of it.
Well, here's what's fascinating about this, and I think that this is why inventory is so low. You bought your house at 2.9. It was $1 million. Now let's say it's $2 million. You sell at 2.9. If you sell your house, what are you going to get into? You know what I mean?
You have to like relocate across the country realistically. That's the thing.
That's the only explanation that I can find. If you want to move from Orange County and go to Victorville or Inland Empire, maybe it makes sense. But if you want to live in the same city and upgrade a house, you're doomed. You're going to pay 3 times as much.
But guess what? What ends up happening is they're like the only thing that will create this shift, and it's unfortunate, is like massive amounts of unemployment is like really the only thing that could potentially do it, because no one in their right mind is going to get out of a home if they like is going to sell and buy a new place if they had to, unless they couldn't make the actual payment of their home, because then they will not be able to refi, because first off, they're not going to want to refinance into a shitty rate, but on top of it, they won't even qualify for a loan to get their cash out if you don't have a job. So that can create an opportunity for like inventory to begin hitting the market, and for them to take the equity out of their home and then do whatever with it. Go into an apartment. That wouldn't be a bad move, especially if you're pulling a shitload of equity out. That's your only way of getting cash out of the home. Yeah. That is what I foresee as like the only opportunity for a good amount of inventory to begin hitting the market. But right now, the month of September is, or as we enter like the summer, July into September, is the busiest time for moving, because everyone's always trying to move for their kids to move in before before school year starts and stuff like that. So homes and apartments, if you look at like the macro trend of a month over month, like there's up to like a 20-30% swing from like the lowest of the low to like July to September over here of what home prices are or what rents are as well. So it's something to consider as well.
Arman, I know that you're in the group with Danny Fleshman, and there's a lot of real estate, like really good real estate guys there. Yep. What are they doing right now to find deals? Like, what is their thought process, and how have they shifted their technique to what the market offers now?
Well, right now, for more creative finance investors, this is the best time in the world for these opportunities, because
define that for me.
I'm gonna break things down as best as I can. I'm not an expert at it, but I will kind of give some education.
Terms, what you know.
So creative finance is the ability to be able to acquire a home, not having to go through a traditional mortgage process. So you're being able to acquire a home from someone else by 2 different ways. Either number 1, what I said earlier, subject to. Subject to means being able to take over someone's existing mortgage. So if they have that 2.9% mortgage, that's an asset. Right? That mortgage,
it's free money.
It's free money. It's an asset right now. Yeah. Being able to acquire a home with that type of note is an asset. So that is one way you can acquire a home. And, these types of investors, they want those assets because that's free money that they're able to park and not have to pay that much, interest on an annual basis. And they get to own that home, which is going to continue to appreciate year over year over year. That's one way. The second way is through what I mentioned as well, seller finance, through being the bank. So if you own a home, rather than being able to sell your home, where at the end of the day, you're going to have to pay the taxes on it, or you have to be able to do something where you're transferring your funds within a 6-month period over to another home. So that right there, those are the two options that you have as an investor. And right now, how are they finding, what are the strategies that they're doing? It's going to be mainly based on people that they can't afford their home, they're distressed, they might have had a divorce, right? Those are the types of people that would have to leave their existing homes. And, and one thing that is happening is these foreclosures are going up. There's more foreclosures happening now.
I could see that.
Month over month. So as a result of these distressed activities happening, because things are distressed in the marketplace, regardless of what's happening with low inventory levels, people are distressed. As a result of that, there are still plenty of opportunities for real estate investors to be able to capitalize. So from a real estate investing standpoint, some of the top people in the industry, Pace Morby, when it comes to creative finance, it's a field day for them. This is the perfect time in their industry based on their strategy to be able to monetize. But what does that mean for the everyday consumer? Right, that's where I think what's most important.
Hold tight to.
I think if I need to buy a home right now,
Yeah.
I need to start cold calling people that purchase homes in the area that I want to in the last 2 years. And if you really think about it, or sending them direct mail, it's actually not a bad move. If you build a target list, you bought the home, they have a low rate. Hit them with some direct mail. You can get some interest in there, get an off-market deal that's not even on there, and then you can make that a reality. And from there, you're receiving a massive amount on your monthly payment to get that dream home. If they're having a win that they want on their end, that's kind of the only way to get in, because you going in with a regular loan right now you're fucked.
I think people buy homes way more emotionally than they do logically. They see themselves and the white picket fence and their children and the
Very much so.
neighborhood and da-da-da. And I don't contest that. Granted, I don't have a wife and kids, but I can imagine that it's a really important thing, right? Where you are going to lay your nest. But if people thought about this more, and if people were smart about it, and if people didn't rush into things, I don't think it would be so bad. But I also don't see that narrative changing ever.
Yeah.
So,
I wonder if you buy now, you just buy a normal house now, you get a shit rate. In 3 years, are rates going down? Do you adjust?
They will. I think that there's going to eventually these rates are going to soften and it's going to come down a little bit. It's not going to come down. I don't think it's going to come down to that 2.9% that we saw, but 4.5%, 5%, maybe. Absolutely, it could be an opportunity.
well, you said that this is the lowest historically, or one
2
of
years
the
ago,
lowest
yeah,
historically.
2.9%, under 3%.
So if we take the historical median between the last now and 150 years ago, let's say
We're
it's
probably at the median.
We're probably still below it.
that's
Yeah.
what I'm thinking. We're probably either at or below. So what's to say that anything is going to change? I think it was a moment in time. I think people got really lucky. For the people that do have their house for essentially free, well, not free, but you get what I'm saying. You're not borrowing very much money. Good for you. I think it was a perfect shitstorm, and if you had the opportunity, you had it. Another opportunity will come up. What is that opportunity? I have no fucking clue, but it's just a time to be delicate. I think it's really fascinating, what the American dream is and what the picture that was painted is for all of us. I don't think that the American dream is this giant story that everybody makes it out to be. I think it's a story that was manufactured by banks to get people to buy homes, to get people in a lot of debt, and to get people into student debt in particular and mortgages, so they have control over the consumer at any given time. And we are a living, breathing example of those times, as throttled as we've ever seen it right now.
I saw something the other day, and it was want to get a liberal arts degree at whatever university, $200,000 student loan coming your way right now. in the trades getting paid $150 an hour and want like your own plumbing equipment, like unfortunately too risky, can't actually give you that loan.
I've been looking to get a line of credit the past couple days, and it's been an absolute disaster. Like nobody's accepting it. We're cash flow positive. We've been profitable since month 2 of the business. The interest rate is manageable. I truly believe that the money that I'm going to get from this line of credit will far exceed whatever it is that I have to pay on interest. So I'm not worried about that. But yes, you're right. But what I'm coming to find out is exactly what you said. They'll give a 17-year-old $300,000 worth of debt that's just going to bend them over backwards.
Dye their hair pink and just a liberal arts degree.
But if I want to get a $50,000 line of credit, I have to bend over backwards, and I'm just getting spit on in every direction that I go. It's really interesting to see. But if you're in e-commerce and you look at the Shopify Capitals of the world, or the Wayflyers, or the Stripe Capitals, list goes on, they're still giving out loans, but they do it in a really crafty way. Have you guys heard of factor rate financing?
I've seen what they do, but I'm not exactly sure.
So this is how it works, okay? Let's say you get $100,000. They'll say upfront, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take, let's say, $13,000 off the top of that $100,000, quote unquote 13% interest rate. And we're going to take 20% of all of your income until it's paid off. If you look at how this is structured, whether you use that $100,000 that you got from them or not is immaterial. If you just have it as working capital in your bank to manage cash flow, which is probably something that I would use it for, you're paying interest on money that you haven't used. But you also think about it. They take it off the top. So it's not 13% of $100,000. They're taking $13,000 out of 87. So that's the rate, and then you pay interest on all of the money irregardless of if you use it or not. So really your rate is like 20-25%, and that's why they give it out so often. And they always guarantee themselves getting at least the majority, if not all of the money back, because they take 20% of every single
they're
payout.
first in the cap table to get paid back.
Yep.
Dude, it's absolutely insane. And if I didn't know any better, like if I wasn't in the game of finance, I would never know. I would think that this is such a sweet deal. But it really fucks over all of these merchants because they use it for inventory, whatever they need to, but they don't understand that they're paying 30 cents on the dollar.
I think we need to go back to this conversation that you mentioned earlier about the American dream. And to be quite honest, I want to be as non-negative as possible, but that is slowly being taking away from the middle class. And what I mean by that is our opportunity. When you came out of college, you were promised, hey, you're going to get that great job. You're going to be able to, pay off your student loan debt. That's not happening. Those opportunities are not existing in the way that you anticipated. So the questions that we should be asking and the audience should be thinking is, how do I get out of being able to, struggle, and how do I make sure I can thrive? What is that American dream? And what I think it is finding a way to achieve financial freedom and not having to rely on, the big banks, rely on these different ways of being able to kind of, be able to make, the opportunity to be successful. Yeah. And you have to have your own path towards success. The question is, what are those things? And we did talk about some of those things, on a few episodes ago when we talked about, like, you don't need to live by yourself when you're coming out of school, or when you're, you're just kind of starting your career. You need to, work as a team to be able to save as much money as possible.
Yeah, agreed.
Investing that money, getting better educated. We talked today about a lot of really interesting things on, not having to necessarily get that, that loan, but like educating yourself on creative finance and what that means and how you can actually use that to get in a home where you're not going to be paying that, super high interest rate. And maybe you can, start renting until you get to that point. So what are your thoughts on like the American dream and, achieving financial freedom and, this topic here?
I will say this. I was born in Iran. It's an Islamic republic, and things are not going well there at all right now.
Sure.
my family won a lottery. We had 2 weeks to pack our bags and come here. I always make this joke that like we were the only Persian family that came here from Iran that didn't have money. We didn't have a pot to piss in. I had all of the opportunities in the world to make something of myself. And I did. And I'm very grateful for this country. I fucking love this country. Regardless of how crazy politics may be or what's going on with hyperinflation and everything that we're bitching and complaining about right now, it's still the most beautiful place to live. And it's still the best country in the world that's being ran by semi-competent people. But here's something you have to understand. It's a capitalistic country. People here are either working a 9-to-5 or the people that are employing the 9-to-5. There's literally no in between. So if you know the cards that are being dealt to you, don't hate the game. Don't discredit it. Play the game. You know exactly how it works. Everybody does. You either become a businessman or a businesswoman, or you work a 9-to-5. You know what your limitations on both are. You know the risk and reward of what both are. So it's a matter of you making a decision. But what I can tell you is the odds that you work at a 9-to-5 in some startup company that hits this crazy valuation and goes public is slim to none. The risk that you take as being an entrepreneur and failing is very high, but you build skills, you build assets, you learn the game, and those stack on top of each other.
Sure.
Not necessarily the same way that working in a 9-to-5 does, unless you're like leadership or executive team, whatever. So if you know that this is what you're dealt with, go the other direction. Who cares if you can't find a 9-to-5 job? If you look at a 21-year-old with $200,000 of debt and a 21-year-old that didn't go to school but spent the same amount of time from 18 to 21 learning on their own, being on YouTube, buying courses, reading a ton of books, indulging in information, who do you think is better off?
The latter.
The latter, right? Every single time. So it's not about what this country will offer you. It's about what you're going to take from it.
You have to. You have to have that mentality.
There's an infinite amount of money. Money literally like isn't real. Like it's unlimitedly printed. The value of it goes up. The value of it goes down. But there's people with billions and billions and billions and trillions of dollars. And people are bitching about eggs being $6 versus $4. It's like, do something to make more money, to not worry about that $2 discrepancy.
And use your money wisely. Like I see even a lot of people, and I'll go back and I'll say another thing as well. Even if you are working a 9-to-5, if you are smart, you can still be able to get out of the rat race, and you can still be able to do things in order to invest some of your money and let that money work for you over time. It might take longer than being an entrepreneur, assuming that you can be successful as an entrepreneur, but it can be successful in both ways. You can be successful in both ways. Ashton,
or just make yourself very valuable in an organization as well. The more valuable that you become, I think what's the people that are really fucked in these scenarios are the ones that are not going above and beyond, that are treating a 9-to-5 just like a 9-to-5, that are going in, doing the minimum, checking out. Like, we know who those people are. You can see who those individuals are.
And it's most of them at that.
And then there's the segment of people that are going above and beyond. And those are the ones that are doing a couple things. One is they're the ones that are going to grow, continue to get promoted within their roles, and continue to grow and get paid more and more, take on more responsibility. But even more important than that, those are the ones that are going and garnering the skills necessary to be able to run it back again and do it themselves.
Yeah.
And it's like that, not only by caring do you become more valuable, but you also get this extra set of skills that you will be able to hold with you for your life. So you can take these skills and not take the same risk that someone that went the entrepreneurship route early on took, where like if they didn't work out, they're fucked and are eating hot dogs for dinner. Instead, you have this comfy job that you're getting paid on, but you're also doing all this learning. So when you go and you jump and want to do your own thing, you can do it on nights, you can do it on weekends, and you can like take the learnings you learned from your 9-to-5 job that you're choosing to excel and go all in at, and apply that towards something different. And I think that's the person that will be very successful because 1, less risk. 2, they're gathering all of those skills the same way. And 3 is they're also a doer and a winner by going above and beyond.
And let me share one thing as well. As an entrepreneur myself, I applaud any person that is an employee that's supporting a brand and helping them grow to have that side hustle, to be able to learn when they're not at work and to do the things that they need to do to get themselves ahead. I would never, ever, fault someone in my company if they ever, left the company because they had something that they wanted. I would embrace it and I would try to help them as much as possible. And I think more people need to be thinking about that. How are you going to be able to get ahead in your career? What are the lessons that you're going to be able to take to continue to level up as a human, as a better, individual when it comes to what you can offer in the marketplace?
Yeah.
And what are you doing to set a plan for it? I think a lot of people kind of get lackadaisical and they don't really have intention to what they're trying to achieve. And I think you need to be able to have that level of clarity. Hey, my goals over the next 5 years is to acquire these skills, to be able to understand that I want to be able to pursue X, Y, Z. I need to save X, Y, Z money in order to do it. You need to be clear with what you're trying to do, and you shouldn't just try to coast through life. What do you think?
I love it. That's exactly what it is. You nailed it. It's like people are just running around like chickens with their heads cut off. I'm a big believer in doing rather than planning for the most part. That's just how I'm built.
Sure.
But it's so nice to have a roadmap that you can actually follow. It just comes down to whether you want to do it or not. That's all it is. I wouldn't say that any of us are particularly savant geniuses. I wouldn't say that any of us are particularly gifted in one sense or the other. I think that we've experimented with a lot of stuff. We figured out what we're not so good at.
We out-executed a lot of people.
That, yes, but we figured out what we're not good at. We figured out what we are good at. We keep on doubling down on the things that work more in our favor, and we just work really hard. That's it. And so many people say work smarter, not harder. I say do both. Why not create the life that you want, working smarter, but still working 12-hour days? And these are all things that you can do. It's muscle memory, right? When I first started this, 6 hours of intense focus was a lot. But then it became 7. Then it became 8. Then it just slowly becomes more and more. It becomes a part of your life. And you build there. But you have to start somewhere. And I think the best thing to do is just go. But you cannot make an excuse that you don't have money, that you don't have resources, that you don't know what to do, that people are hiding
Victim mentalities don't work.
All of it is bullshit. Don't be a victim and just run. And you'll figure it out. I think that you do this better than anyone. Any idea that you have, you're I don't care what the fucking outcome is. I'm just going to see what happens. TalentPop was that. We were having a conversation in my apartment, and you guys were riffing back and forth, and let's try it out. You had no expectations, and 3 years later, it's this fucking animal. Yeah. And it wasn't because you thought it was going to be that. Just one.
We never thought it was going to be it.
1 foot over the other.
Action will take you there ultimately, and I think that you need to garner that skill of action way or another. And doing it at a job is probably the safest time to do it. Learn that action. There's people that I see that go above and beyond. And that skill, whether they're doing it for themselves or doing it for a company, is going to move in the other direction as well. When they run by themselves, they're going to be massive action takers. And the same person that is going and just doing the bare minimum, guess what? When they launch their thing or attempt to, it's just going to be the bare minimum.
It's going to look like the bare minimum.
So learn, get those calluses, learn to work hard, learn to see things through. And then what I said before, it's get excited about the first web hit, the first lead, the first call that gets booked, the first deal that gets closed, not the end outcome. Those are lagging indicators over there. You want to look at the early indicators of success and just take massive amount of action there, knowing that if you do these things, you will become successful.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I'm going to give a little story, and then we're going to talk about what we plan on doing for this podcast, and we can wrap up.
Let's do it.
I have an uncle, well, not an uncle, he's a cousin. I have a cousin-in-law in Silicon Valley. He's 50 years old. His name is Chris. Very successful guy. was a part of a leadership company, or part of the leadership of a company that was already public that got bought out by another giant public company and casholaed the fuck out. When I'm talking like big ball, and I'm saying this is the richest guy that I personally know, and also one of the nicest guys I've ever met. Anywho, I'll bring this back to reality. Wanted to give context to who he was. He loves watches, and I love watches. And every time I go to their house, we always talk about watches. We geek out. He shows me his collection. I drool over it. We talk about all the little complications and perpetual calendars and this and the other and tourbillons, so on and so forth. He knows that I've wanted to get a watch for a really long time, but I refused to not get it if I didn't get it for retail. I finally ended up getting that watch. I was jumping over joy. I sent him a video of me getting it immediately when I got in the car. And he said something to me that rocked my fucking world. And I think that a lot of you can take something from this. He's like, dude, congratulations. I love the watch that you got. You wear it well. Just remember this. People who buy Rolexes are on their way. People that buy Patek Philippe's, it's the #1 luxury watch brand in the world. But people that buy Patek Philippe's are already there. He goes, don't spend another penny on a watch until you're already there. And that rocked my fucking world. He took such a joyous moment for me and absolutely pissed on it. But I loved it because I know that it came from the goodness of his heart. Essentially what he was saying is tying back to what we were talking about. It's like, don't spend your money on dumb shit. Buy all the things that you want when you're already there. If you're not there yet, you don't need to pretend like you are.
Sure.
Stack your cash. What's more important than what you're wearing to impress other people is the money that you have, the security that you have, the bankroll that you have to take risks, to make investments, etc. Because that will take you from where you are to where you want to go and who you want to be.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean you can't enjoy the process along the way.
No,
You can
for sure.
still, buy a gift for yourself to just know that, hey, listen, I've achieved a milestone. I want to reward myself, because you still need that dopamine. But to your point and to the story, you want to be able to make sure that you're not going over the top. You're not just trying to, show off. You're doing it. If you're purchasing something, do it for yourself first. Don't do it for others or to appease other people. Do it for yourself first. And really, once you have that chance to reward yourself, get back on the grind. Understand that this is the next step of your journey. You got to keep hustling. But that's a great story. I love to hear kind of his wisdom around that. And for someone that has already got to that point of, where he wants to be from a goals perspective, he's been, I know this person from stories that you've told me that he's taking care of his family well. They're very well off. They do really fun things. They have a chicken coop. I know the whole kind of rundown there.
God bless the chicken coop.
God bless the chicken coop. But at the end of the day, no, it's a very wise story. And I think people can implement that story in a lot of other aspects of their life.
It just goes to show you like what people get distracted with. Like, I'd be lying if I told you that I got this watch because I love the movement and I love the story behind it. Dude, it's a flex. Like, I'm not going to lie to myself. It's a flex. Granted, like, I don't buy designer clothes for myself or this and the other, drive like a super crazy car, but it's like people get caught up in that, but they have nothing to show for themselves. But if they put that money into something wise, like learning or the stock market or whatever else, 5 years down the line, they're not going to give a fuck about that shirt that screen printed Dior. It's going to be in a trash bin somewhere. That $500 could have turned into $1,000. If you do that 10 times, it's a big deal for most people.
Yep.
But anywho, moral of that story is
invest in yourself, not into your watches.
Right. And I just wanted to flex that I got a new watch, to be honest.
Looks nice.
We love it.
Thank you. So that's where we're at. Here's what we got going on, you guys. We are coming through on the 1 month anniversary of Your Fifth Friends podcast. Congratulations to us.
Here we
Let's
go.
give ourselves a
How many
pat
videos?
on the back.
7. This is episode 7 here.
This is episode 7, and I think we have like 30 shorts or something like
That's
that.
a lot of episodes, 7.
Yeah, dude. I mean, we've been pumping out 2 a week every week for the past month. What I'm really excited about is going over some numbers. We're at, I think, 93 subscribers, which is insane to me. And I know that may not mean dick to anybody else, but we're starting this from scratch. We're not posting it anywhere, not on social media or anything else outside of YouTube. We have 100 watch hours already. That means that there are 100 hours in people's brains of us pitching each other.
33 hours of me speaking running through people's ears.
Yeah, in 25 days.
Wow.
Which I think is a crazy thing. So all of that to say is like most podcasts fail after a month. We don't even have an editor. We don't have somebody posting for us. We built this room. I'm the one that's editing it. We're using, like I said in the very first episode, Opus Clip to put together our shorts. But in the near future, we're going to have an editor. We're going to have a team that's going to be distributing. And I hope that you guys are enjoying the content and that you guys can look forward to more and more and more of this. I think all of our jitters have left the building.
For sure.
We're on a good flow. We're having great conversations. And whatever comes our way, we'll continue to discuss. But we're going to be consistent. We love you guys. We do it for you guys. The only thing that we ask in return, which we haven't even asked for yet, is like it, share it, subscribe it, keep tuning in. We're going to give you guys a lot of game from things that we've experienced. It's not listening to a billionaire that you're incapable of even understanding the tangibles of what they're saying. You're hearing it from people that are running 7- and 8-figure businesses every day that were where you were a couple years ago that have made something of themselves. That's all I got.
Love it. No, the guys, I think we have a lot to go in terms of what we want to be able to achieve for this podcast, Your Fifth Friend. We're on the journey. We're going to storytell the process. So you can continue to tune in. We're going to share what we're doing. What are the things that we want to be able to do to get to the next level, to, those first 100, first 1,000 subscribers, and to hit these different milestones. We're going to be very transparent and let you guys know what we're doing in order to continue to level up, because at the end of the day, we're actually starting this from ground zero.
Yeah, we got no clout, no nothing. It's just 3 guys with some big brains trying to make it work.
And we are going to be relentless in our approach. We're going to be consistent. And this is going to be a story of how 3 guys were able to take our knowledge, everything that we've experienced through our entire, working career, getting it out into as many people as possible, and our relentless approach to be able to scale that audience. So I'm excited for the journey. Ashton, what are your final thoughts?
Let's get it going. Just let us know what you want to see more of. Do you want to see more of us talking to each other, keeping the ideas going? Is there a specific genre? Is it e-commerce? Is it business? Is it what's going on in the world right now? Do you want any guests to come on? Let us know who. We'd love to get some people on, have some of these conversations going. So, your feedback is highly appreciated. It's what's going to be used and desired for us to be able to continue to progress here, but we ain't going to stop. We ain't stopping.
Before we sign off, 3 dream guests in the next year for both of you. Who are they?
3 dream guests. I got to say, Lizard Man, we heard you. We heard you loud and clear in our comments. We love it. I want you on the pod, man. What do we got to do to get you on the pod? I'm talking to you, Lizard Man. We're getting this clipped. I want you on the pod. Let's make it happen. He's number 1. Who else?
We're definitely going to get Brian Johnson sub 50 episodes. I have a good feeling about it. Why don't we get Danny on?
We can get Danny on. I'll ask him for sure. I'll ask Danny Fleischman to get on. I'll ask Pace Morby to get on. Who else do you think? I think a couple of great e-commerce founders. I would love to have some conversations, maybe some of our clients or even some people that we want to be able to work with and just learn more about their stories. So I think a couple of e-commerce founders would be really interesting.
Regardless of reach, who would you want them to be?
E-commerce founders?
Doesn't matter.
Or anything?
Just doesn't matter. If you could get your hands on anyone, if you could just pitch someone's lights out in a dark corner.
One
who would
person?
It be? 3.
All right, David Goggins.
Oh, good one.
Sit eye to eye, belly to belly with Goggy. Would be a good one. I like Brian Johnson. I like that a lot. I think that would be good.
We're going to get you on, Brian.
Brian Johnson would be one. And then who's number 3? I think Sam Parr from My First Man would be legit. Not very aligned with what is other than just having conversations similarly, not in the e-commerce space, but I think he's a cool dude, and I think he would be legit to have a conversation.
I love Brady. I would love to have Tom Brady on the pod. If we can somehow make that happen, I think he'd be an awesome person to talk to about his story and also what he's been able to do on the field, off the field business. I think he'd be a really interesting person to talk to. He's also my favorite athlete of all time. So
Your muse.
Yeah, he's my guy. So, Tom Brady, I want you on the pod as well. Looking at me? Come on.
I got 3. I got Patrick Bet David.
Love him.
That'd be the GOAT.
I got Larry David.
I love him too.
And I got Brian Johnson.
Dude, Brian Johnson's 3 for 3 here.
I think honorable mention. I'm a big Huberman fangirl. We get Huberman on. I'll wear a full. I'll buy a fucking tuxedo to wear if Huberman comes on, and I'll go shirtless.
Him.
I'll go shirtless if Brian Johnson comes on. For Larry David, I'll shave my head so we can both be baldies. It'll be incredible. Anywho, these are our fantasies. You want to sign us off?
I'm signing you guys off. I'm going 1 for 3. I was struck out the last 2 times. You guys are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. We're here to be your 5th friend. I want to see you in the next pod. Like, subscribe, comment. We'll see you in the next pod. Thanks, guys.
That was a great one. We're out.